What breakthrough psychology is for us is tools and methods that allow you to see beyond what you can see now. I want to talk a bit more about sort of my particular expertise and Nikki's, because we both became known for different things in different ways.
The way I think about it is you need to break through the sort of invisible barriers in your mind, which mean that you only have a limited perception of the problem. And those invisible barriers are to do with things like taboos and social norms. So often there'll be organisational taboos in an organisation, which will mean that they simply are invested in not seeing something in a new way. They've just been doing something in the same way for so long that they actually, in a way, don't want to perceive this open space that's sitting beside them, so to speak. And the other kind of barrier that we need to get through are the ones in our own minds. So social norms, just the things we're expected to say, limit then what we do say and what we do almost see and perceive.
Being able to figure out what was really going on with people, in spite of what they said or alongside what they said. And I'm going to show you, and we're going to have a practice together. And of course, as these things, once you really bottom them out, they're much easier than you think. In fact, they're so easy that they're like jackets, a well-worn jacket. You wear it and you don't even notice you've got it on. But the first way that the first tool to get sort of insight is what we call reframing. There are two things that you can reframe. You can reframe the content, which I'm going to do with you in a slightly extended way, or the context. Here's an example of context reframing. You've all seen these perspective illusions, I'm sure. Yeah? So, of course, the rear pillar looks the biggest, doesn't it? But, of course, if you take the framework away, they all look the same size. And you can practice with that kind of thing all the time. You can use that kind of work, that kind of idea in process. So you can expose just the copy or just the end line. You can take because agencies, as you well know, will send you something as beautiful and as irresistible as a box of chocolates if they can. And you never know whether you're testing the thought or the lovely drawing or the great golden swirl down in the bottom right-hand corner. So context reframing is something that everybody has, we do it all the time. We context reframe our children continually. We say to them, yes, but if you don't you want to be a so-and-so when you grow up, if you don't do your homework, it's not going to work out. So we endlessly try to reframe their context so that they have a sense of the consequences of their actions and their behavior in life. We're going to do some unpracticed modes of expression. Human beings are leaky. They leak information all the time. That's why some of you like watching, eavesdropping, because of all the stuff that leaks out. Bus stops are good places. We're going to do some of that in a minute, and we'll do that with Nikki. People sitting around talking for an hour and a half, which I still think is the standard method, is it not? Is that not still what's done? It's really unlikely to produce anything that you haven't seen before, other than the mind of the researcher, who then has the job of kind of dressing it up or making it more exciting or whatever. So you might get good insights through what the researcher does with the... But if somebody asks you how many of them actually said that about an insight, you won't usually be able to find any who actually said it, because the insight is something that's built from a set of clues, and it's how to get more access to those clues that I'm interested in. Interrupting the norms and rituals, we've talked a little bit about it, having the directors there, doing co-creation, the relief people feel when they can be real and actually ask the questions that they're on the mind, having the client become the customer, and vice versa, asking the customers to think about what would you do if you were running Aviva or Danone or HMRC. And the other thing is to do moving rather than sitting. Action and thought are inseparable. People go for a walk when they're stuck, or they take a bath, or they sleep on it, So we know that our thought processes are endlessly dancing with our activities. So one of the things that doesn't work very well is sitting still and thinking harder about it. You tend to get into more and more of a hole. Okay, and settings, removing clutter. I don't know, this is the kind of place that I say, can I see the viewing facility? It usually looks something like that. It already looks like a professional business setup that, you know, most ordinary most C2 consumers would just be terrified of. They wouldn't tell you they were terrified. They'd say, oh, what nice chairs. Do you live here? Do you work here all the time? Or whatever. But this is what space looks like. Okay, it looks like that. It's got nothing in it. We spend our lives clearing spaces out, doing co-creation and whatever, getting the stuff out of the room, and then thinking carefully about what you put back in. So it's more like a yoga space than it is like a market research space. You have something comfy to sit on so your bum doesn't get sore on the floor or the whatever, but that's about it.